will be very real, rugged and raw. We bought a half acre with grand acres, and that's a mistake we are never doing again. Let me just tell you guys. Yeah, moving forward, we'll be buying whole acres and above. Because it's amazing! It's amazing! My God! The process has been A1, and we have everything that someone needs to get as soon as they finish buying land. Ama unafikiria aje bin kuru?
Kabisa. Yani hata sina words za kuongezea. It's been a
smooth sailing journey.
Exactly.
Good. Yes. Hapo sawa. Unajua hiyo story? My name is Abel Mutua.
Stephanie Mumbwa.
Judy Nyawera.
And we are land in Kenya.
Are you sure? It's not sure it's right. All right. Good evening. Hello. Oh, well. Are people tuning in?
Yes. Then people on IG.
Hi, all 7 of you on IG. Peter, Jesse, I see you. Munga, Kennedy, Moses, Lole, Jude Achi, Slim, Danwesh. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's 7:03 p.m. Tuesday, the 24th of October, 2023. We'll give a few minutes for more people to join. Please share the link with others you think might benefit from today's session. As usual on Tuesdays, AskSolo Tuesdays. Just a reminder, today's format is live calls or voice notes to our WhatsApp number, which is 0700010001. Again, that's 0700010001. Okay, no comments. We will not be addressing questions or comments typed in the comments. Rather, you have to record a voice note or call us live at the number I just shared, which again is 0700010001. Share this link with everyone you know will benefit from today's session. Send your calls in or voice notes early, please, so that we can address as many as possible before 8 p.m., which is when we will stop. It's now 7:04. Thank you all for tuning in. Mwiruri Joel, I see you. Slim Danwesh, Victor Kiprop. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd be so kind, please do let us know where you're joining from. What area of Nairobi or Kenya or whatever part of the world, what city you're in would be awesome. We'd love to know. It blesses us. So please don't be shy. Let us know and send your calls and voice notes in as quickly as possible. It's a pleasure to be with you guys today. Apologies, we missed last Thursday's live. I was taken ill suddenly, feeling well enough to be on the live today. So let's make it lively, and hopefully we can all learn something. In case I'm new to you, my name is Solomon Wangwe. I am the founder and managing director of Goshen Acquisitions Limited, as well as its wholly owned subsidiary Grand Acres Limited, the most transparent, the best most trustworthy land sellers in Kenya. It's based on our 12 and a half years of experience to date in Kenya that we share our experiences, learnings, mistakes, triumphs, and all-round wisdom on how to own land safely in Kenya. So please send in your questions. If you have comments to make, if you don't have a question, it's fine. Something you saw in the news that you find interesting as relates to land ownership in Kenya, most welcome as well. Criticisms also welcome. And let's just make sure we pack this next hour with as much edifying content and information as possible. How many so far?
I was checking TikTok. TikTok we have 7.
TikTok usually has multiple times Instagram. What's up today?
It will keep getting better.
Guys are still waking up. Huh? Okay, as usual, my teammates are here with me, Georgie, in the background, David and Gladys sitting on my right. I know you can't see them on screen, but I address them from time to time, so that's who I'll be talking to off camera.
Okay, we have our voice notes.
Awesome, our first voice note is in at 7 minutes past 7. You wanna play it loud so everyone can hear it.
It's from Dan.
Okay.
Hi, Grand Acres. My name is Daniel Oweru. I'm from Olkalau, Nyandarua County, and I'm here for today's live. And I do have a question. There's this recent case that has been on the headlines about Kirima land, where a ruling was given that the land belonged to, the alleged land belongs to the late Kirima's family in the state. And there's this issue of acquiring land through adverse possession. And based on what I've heard, there are certain requirements that are required. So I would love to know more about how one can acquire land through adverse possession. And maybe in this case, what wasn't, what condition wasn't qualified for that land to be given, and how is it even possible to begin with? So I think it's a very interesting topic that has come to light through this case, which is now gone public and viral. So I would love to, if you're able to explore more into this, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. That's Daniel Waweru. Thank you for sending in your voice, man. I appreciate you being early today. And Daniel was just making a comment and a follow-up question about. I also, interestingly, I was just reading that story late this afternoon. Ruling by the Environment and Land Court about a property, about 1,000 acres, believe it or not, belonging to the Kirima family or Kirima estate, who passed away in 2010, which has just awarded the family ownership, uncontested ownership of their land, which was being claimed by multiple groupings of people numbering thousands, as squatters who had the right of ownership by adverse possession. That's a technical term. Okay, so Daniel, you're up to speed with current affairs, man. That's really cool. Very interesting case. As many might know, the Kirima family are well known to the Kenyan media followers because of all the news that's been out there since 2010, when the late Kirima passed on, especially because of his wealth, a well-known wealthy gentleman who left his estate to his heirs, including multiple spouses. Some of these have been in court. There's a bit of drama in the earlier days between the spouses. Now there's administrators who are appointed by the court. One is a widow of the late Kirima and one of his daughters, who were appointed as administrators. And inspiring story. If you've never heard of the late Kirima, a man who built himself up from the bootstraps, rather, from abject poverty to a multi-billionaire real estate magnate owner, as well as entrepreneur, many businesses, various interests that are still doing well today. And so, no surprise, the ruling has made the news and what that means. Without getting into too many personal stories about the Kirimas, because it's always good to be mindful that all these stories involve human beings, real lives, real people with emotions and rights. And so we never want to speak disparagingly about anyone. But in the context of the ruling about the adverse possession being denied to those who are claiming legally sound adverse possession of the Kirima property or portions of the Kirima property, which is in Nairobi practically, in Njiru. Those of you who know Nairobi would know where Njiru is. You guys know where Njiru is? You should know. See, your name.
Yeah,
Yes, very. I mean, I'm surprised there's that much land. 1,000 acres still available, that close to Nairobi or within Nairobi metropolitan. Stunning property there. So let's start with the first thing which Daniel is asking about. Adverse possession is a legal terminology for squatter rights. So in Kenya, a squatter is anyone who, in essence, begins as a trespasser on a property, typically owned by an absentee landowner, meaning someone who owns the land but does not live there, so they may not know what's going on the property, especially if it's not fenced or secured by fencing and there's no security personnel, it's not being used and that sort of thing. Fairly common in areas where there's lots of land, rural parts of Kenya and that sort of thing. And in Kenya, there's a law that says if someone squats on a property for 12 consecutive uninterrupted years, 12, right? Then they have the right to possess the land adversely. Adverse means negative or has connotations of conflict or, like to wrestle your ownership. Hence the term adverse possession. Possession by adversity in that sense. It's a controversial law, but I think there was good reason and rationale behind it. And this has to do with equitable use or sharing of land resource within the Republic of Kenya. At some point, when you have too much land for yourself as a resource, it therefore makes sense that others may be able to settle on it and use it while you're not using it. And if that is demonstrated within the policies and the requirements as stipulated by the law that has to do with adverse possession, then the courts can decide to provide legal ownership of at least portions of that land to the said squatter, the person who has settled on that land. So 12 years consecutive. Obviously, the squatter must be able to demonstrate that they have been there for 12 years consecutively, uninterrupted. You can't come for 2 years, leave for 6 months, come back for 3 years, leave for a year, come back, that sort of thing. It has to be 12 years non-stop.
How do they demonstrate that?
Now that's the tricky part. How to demonstrate that you've been there? Obviously, in many cases, some will have witnesses, neighbors in the area, community members, chiefs can get involved in providing affidavits saying that they are aware such and such groupings of people or person has been on that property for 12 years consecutively, uninterrupted and uncontested. Okay, so the owner of the land cannot have tried to remove you before the 12 years have lapsed, right? Because then obviously that would interrupt your 12-year timeline. So that's what adverse possession means. So you as a landowner, if you leave your property unsupervised and someone claims adverse possession because they've been there for 12 years, you can't just kick them out. You have to compensate them. Generally, that means you hive off a piece of your land for them, which is not a desirable outcome for the landowner, but that's a law. So in this case, regarding the Kirima property, the court has ruled that there were 3 groupings of people or peoples who went as far as organizing themselves into self-help groups, societies registered within the laws of Kenya because they're big communities. One claimed that they bought the land. Others claim that they simply settled there and applied for allotment letters from the Nairobi City Council at the time, or the county government has supposedly given them allotment letters because they were landless people who applied to the county to give them the land. Never mind that the land belonged to someone else. So there's 3 groupings specifically who are listed in the article today. And the court ruled in essence that they were unable to demonstrate that they had adverse possession rights, because at the time that the court proceeding began, which was 2011, that is the timeline that the court was using to ask these people to demonstrate that they've been there for 12 years consecutively, and none was able to demonstrate that. Obviously, those who claim that they had bought the land from someone, so interestingly, in one case, a group apparently was allocated the land, and then they sold it to some other entity. At the same time, the family had already begun selling portions of the land to other entities as the bona fide owners. And all these interests got put on hold when the Kirima family or estate went to court to stop these people from grabbing their land. So none of them has been able to prove to the court that before the 2011 case, they had been there for at least 12 years consecutively. Okay, so it's on that basis that their case has been thrown out, and the Kirima family or estate has been told they have incontestable ownership of the land. In fact, one of the instructions from the court is that they now need to hurry up and complete their sale to the parties that they were selling portions to, because those buyers were unable to complete the purchase because of the court situation. So affecting lots of people, and I believe according to the ruling, they have been given until December 31st of 2023, which is in about 3 months, or slightly less than 3 months, 2.5, but in 2 months and a week to leave, or they will suffer the same fate of those who are having their homes demolished and removed from the site in Athi River. That's the court ruling today that we read about today, rather. That's Daniel is asking. So that's how it's possible, Daniel. There's legal processes. Obviously, as this case demonstrates, just because you claim you are a bona fide adverse possessor of land does not mean you can prove it. And if you can't, the ruling today tells us what fate one can expect. One of the main reasons we always encourage people not to leave their lands unsupervised for inordinate periods of time. At the very least, fence it, plant trees, do something to show people that it belongs to someone. If you can have someone there permanently, even better. Understandably, if you have a plot here, a plot there, a plot everywhere, that can get expensive because now you're paying people, permanent employees, to be on property that you're not really using or developing at the time. So how do you go about that? Simple thing to do, we've advised before, is do an even if it's a one-page agreement between yourself and the other party. Say that you're employing them to be on your property as caretakers, or that you're granting them permission to live on your property, even if it's rent-free. That they sign, because automatically they acknowledge they know who the owner is, and they are not squatting, they have been allowed to be there. A simple agreement like that immediately gets rid of this 12-year situation. Should you get too busy and you forget and so on, there's a piece of paper signed by both parties acknowledging your ownership and your authority, granting them permission to be on the land, and that sorts out that situation. I hope I've answered your question, Daniel, but thank you for sending that through. If you have, if you're like most of us in Kenya who have land here, there, everywhere, and you're an absentee landowner, think about ways you can mark your territory, if you will. Plant trees, fence it, hire someone to use the land, or you could lease the land to someone. Make sure you do it formally, have agreements in place, register them by having them flanked at RD House, Ministry of Lands, register those, and if possible, even register cautions against your own title, because that means that no one can do anything with our property unless you remove the caution yourself. So simple little things that one can do in the interim to make sure you avoid having to deal with squatters at some point in the future, or your heirs having to deal with this situation because you own land somewhere that you bought for investment purposes, long-term basis, so that it doesn't become a problem for you. Yeah, awesome. We have any other ones?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, it's 7:24. We've got 36 minutes remaining for today's session. So please, guys, send in your voice notes or call live. The number is 07 0001 0001. Again, that's 07 0001 0001. I was trying to find that article. Yeah, found it. I'll send you this here. You could share the link. These others are curious. I guess we'll wait until 7:30 as always for people to wake up. Maybe we should start these later. No? Yeah, we should. Zero, my goodness. At a prime location. Goes up the Monkey all the way to just before Gomongo, Dandora. Thousand acres is a lot of space. When you consider that Nairobi CBD is sitting on roughly about 450 acres. Yeah. 1,000 is a lot of space. Awesome. 7:29. See, 7:30. Whenever you're starting. Okay.
Hello, Maria Gioni. My name is Joe. I offer mobile drilling services. I understand before you sell land or after selling land or subdividing land. From time to time, you need water in your land.
Is that all Joe said?
Yeah, and the next one we shared is
Joe Bohol Driller, thank you for your message, sir. Although I didn't hear a question there, maybe you want to complete your question and share your voice note one more time.
I'm sorry, kuna venye nakatika katika. I was asking, or rather request, if we can partner whenever your clients need boreholes in their lands. You can tag me along, or we work together on that. Thank you.
I hear you loud and clear, Joe. Thank you for asking. You know, they say closed mouths never get fed. So good on you for that. Well, what other advice, Joe, is send us your profile, your licenses, you know, your whole document package to the same WhatsApp number, or you can, you know, chat with someone and they'll give you an email address if that is easier for you. And we shall add you to the panel of specialists we typically will interview or look through when we're looking for such services. And we'll take it from there. Okay, Joe, thank you. Okay, 7:32 p.m. We have 28 minutes left for today's session, guys. Send in your voice notes or call live. Do so as early as possible so we can answer as many questions or discuss as many different things as possible before the session is done. One more time, the number is 0700010001, 0700010001. Well, hopefully someone wakes up and sends a voice note to calls. Okay, have you seen anything interesting in the news lately? Uh-huh.
So a friend of his, my mom,
Yeah.
that is the plot. So the landowner, for example, maybe it's a 1 acre that has the lease for 99 years. Now he's subdividing into 8 to sell them. So Erastus was asking, then does the lease start afresh once you get the individual documents, or it continues from another? Once the subdivision has been done.
Yeah, so in our experience, because we experienced this with Okepun, it was a pre-existing lease. I think it had 80 something years left from the lease out of 99. But at the point that we surrendered the mother title to RV House Registry for them to issue new leases for the subplots or the subdivisions, then the new subplots were issued brand new leases, fresh 99 leases. Yeah, because those are different properties, strictly speaking. the 1 acre parcel would no longer exist. So, it wouldn't make sense, for example, and it's a funny example, but it's apt, if you were to have children, let's say, I'm going to Anika Gladys today. Gladys is 25. I was trying to give you a year. She's just Anika. Okay, you had it. Gladys is 26 years. You're 26 years old. Let's say you start, having children, and let's say you have triplets next year. You'll be 27. Yeah, just Melissa, that's you have triplets. It would make sense for those children to be born with 27 years, removed from their lifespan already, because you have lived 27 years. Yeah, they get their own fresh new life. They're a different being. The only difference is with the title deeds, the mother actually dies in the process. The mother title is killed. It's defaced, no longer exists. The new subplots or subdivisions become new living entities with their own fresh 99 years. Yeah, it's a helpful way to think about how that works.
Pressure from my relatives.
Pressure. Yeah.
Anyway, we have 2 more.
Awesome.
Hi, so I just wanted to ask, when are you considering to come to Kakamega if you are? And my next question would be, if someone has land, do you partner for development of the land, or you just cut and sell? Thank you.
Okay, that gentleman didn't give us his name.
He's, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but it's Lamanis Haven.
Lamanis Haven. All right, Mr. Haven, thank you for that question. When will we come to Kakamega? I have no idea. Whenever the right opportunity presents itself, we'll be happy to come to Kakamega. I'm actually really looking forward to doing something around Western Kenya, because that's my ancestral home area. I'm from Webuye. So Kakamega, which is about 45 minutes drive from my shags in Webuye, would be awesome to do. We just haven't found any opportunity there yet. So yeah, whenever we do find the suitable one, we'll be happy to consider. And yes, we do, depending on the circumstances, the opportunity, the economics around it, we will partner with landowners very selectively. And yes, otherwise, it may make more sense for us to just acquire it, subdivide, paying strict attention to the land use policies for the county, the minimum requirements for subdivision, because subdivision isn't just about kata. There are requirements, both from the county and the national government perspective, to avoid seeding of future slums, which is why, in general, we are very outspoken about the uncontrolled subdivision of 50 by 100s all over the country. But that's a side note. Yes, if it makes sense, we will do it. So if you have something interesting in Kakamega, especially if it's near the forest and near the highway, the newly done highway to Kisumu, please let us know. We'll be happy to consider it.
Daniel has shared another one.
Okay, Daniel, where are we?
Hi, because it's Daniel here again. I have another question, which is quite complicated, but let me just ask it. So, based on what we're seeing, this war between the Hamas and Israel, which I believe stems from a lands right issue, and maybe what we've had before. We had a case, for example, here in Kenya, where some people advocated for having a separate state in some of the counties, especially the Nyanza and Western being subdivided and Kenya being split into two, hypothetically, of course. Maybe constitutionally, in terms of land rights, what does it take for one to carve their own nation within another nation in terms of land rights? Thank you.
Daniel Oweru, that's a loaded question, man. Are you trying to get us into trouble with talk about secession? Right? So, I mean, to be fair, you're right. Hamas Israel war, unfortunate as it is, really boils down to land rights at the end of the day. Which is why, property ownership rights are so sensitive and so critical to the long-term prosperity of any nation or any peoples. Which is why we're privileged to be in the business of providing safe and accountable land ownership opportunities to Kenyans here and abroad. It matters, it's important. Well, with regards to your question on secession, which is the terminology you'd use for agitation for separation of, land to create a nation within a nation, and have your own sovereignty, separate from established authority and that sort of thing, as has been agitated before in parts of Kenya. That's a sensitive issue. I mean, in most cases, when that conversation gets very advanced, it leads to war. That's what it boils down to. Are you willing to go to war to control a piece of land or an area of land that you deem should be its own entity and have its own sovereignty, which is what you're asking. Not an easy thing to do. It's the reason wars have been fought since wars began, I believe. It's the only reason. It's the battle for control of land. Why? Because the land is a base of value for everything else, for food production, for minerals, for water rights, and that sort of thing. It's where all wealth comes from. If you're religiously inclined, like some of us, it's where our own physical origins comes from dust to dust and ashes to ashes. Our bodies were made from the dust of the earth. Nothing exists without the ground. So it makes sense that people would fight to have control of land and its resources and what it means for its peoples and their prosperity and the opportunity to pursue happiness and fullness of life within that context. So discussions about carving out land from within an established territory and the authority of a governing entity or a government with a commander-in-chief. That's the only reason armies exist. Our army, in a sense, is like your G4S for your plot. You want to protect the sovereign boundaries of your property as established by rule of law. Now, if you want to expand that territory, you go to war. You put together, say 1,000 G4S guys to invade your neighbor's land and take it over. That's how wars were fought. It's the predominant reason we were colonized as a continent and as a country was for the land resource. So, with my throat. Not a conversation you want to start lightly. The issue of secession, because yes, that has to do with land rights. So, as much as possible, play within the rules. Otherwise, you're spoiling for a fight, unless you're sure you can win it. No one wants to imagine what the outcome would be. People lose their lives including innocents who suffer. So we're born into this territory called the Republic of Kenya. For those of us in my generation, if you were born after 1963, our parents might have a different view because they were born under colonial rule. Their parents, our grandparents and great-grandparents might have a very different view because when they lived, there were no formal boundaries called Republic of Kenya or Tanzania. Things worked differently within tribes, clans, chiefdoms, and kingdoms, and that sort of thing. Alliances were made to share resources. We live in the context that we do because of global events, historical events that were bigger than what our entities were at the time. And now we have to make do within that context. But those are philosophical discussions we can say for another time. Yes, they all have to do with land rights. Therefore, your need to know what your rights are under the Constitution of Kenya, if you're dealing within the sovereign boundaries of the Republic of Kenya, if you're in Uganda, the same, Tanzania, the same. That's why all our legal jurisdictions are different, and therefore different land rights within those countries. In Tanzania, it's very difficult to buy land outright because most land, unless it's traditional ancestral land in the village, belongs to the government and therefore the people of Tanzania. So you cannot own land outright as we do in Kenya. In countries like Tanzania, you can lease it for renewable periods of time, but you don't have absolute ownership of land for perpetuity in most parts of TZ. Same in parts of Uganda. In other parts of the continent, men cannot be registered as owners, legal owners of land. There are parts of Malawi I learned that only women can be registered as the owners of property. Men cannot own land legally. So you have to understand the context in which you live and then work within the context of those regulations and rules to secure your piece of the land pie, as it were. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Thank you, Daniel.
We have another question from another Daniel.
Another Daniel, okay.
Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm just inquiring if it's possible to place a caution in your land online, or if you send a representative, or do you really have to be there physically? Thank you.
Please replay that, Gladys.
Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm just inquiring if it's possible to place a caution in your land online, or if you send a representative, or do you really have to be there physically? Thank you.
That's part
Hi,
one.
Grandeka is Daniel again. Just checking out, is it possible for one to put a caution on his land while he's away, either online or by sending a representative? What documents will we have to send out to just put a caution? Thank you.
Okay, well, Daniel, that's a good question. No, you cannot do it online. Cautions have to be registered in person, physically, at the registry. You'd have to present the reason why you're registering a caution, because it is not only available to the landowner, it is also available to lenders or any other persons with demonstrable or demonstrable interest in that property can register a caution. If someone's involved in a transaction that has to do with the land, they could be able to register a caution against that title. So it's something you have to do physically. And I believe if it's agricultural land, you will need the consent of the Land Control Board to register that caution. Police departments, for instance, the Directorate of Criminal Investigation Services also can register a caution on a title if there's a fraud situation involved. So, you have to be able to demonstrate to the land registry the reason for your registration of the caution, but it's something you have to do physically. You cannot do it remotely or digitally on an online platform. If you're not here, you could engage the services of a licensed advocate to do that for you. If you're not here, they will present the necessary documentation required by the authority, the registration authority, to allow them to register the caution. Otherwise, then, all sorts of people could register cautions maliciously when they have no right to. So you have to provide certain documentation, proof of your ownership or your interest. If there's a transaction involved, if there's a fraud case involved, you need police case numbers and accompanying documentation that the registry can then deem to be sufficient for them to register the caution. So best to check with a licensed advocate who can assist you with that process. But in short, you cannot do it online. It has to be done in person. Thank you, Daniel. We have any other question? We got 8 minutes left. 8 minutes to 8 p.m. If you have something pressing, guys, please send that through. We have enough time to cover at least one more, if not two. Or you have a commentary to make, something interesting you saw that's relevant to land ownership in Kenya, please feel free to share. The number, one last time, is 0700010001. Again, that's 0700010001. Send in a voice note or call us live. Thank you, Lamanis. I'm told you tagged guys to join the live before the live. Big up to you. Thank you so much. I mean, there's only a few minutes left. Otherwise, we encourage you to share the link to others who can join. But this is recorded. It will be available on our platforms for you to watch later or after. But thank you. Shout out to you, Lamanis. We appreciate it. Thank you. I see Daniel Okech typing a question.
He's actually the one who replied to send the placement.
Nice. I see lots of great questions in the comment section, guys. I'm tempted to answer, but today's format is calls or voice notes only, guys. So we'll save those for Thursday's live. By God's grace, we shall be able to have it this week, where we'll answer your comments, your typed comments, as opposed to having to call in live or send a voice note. So please bear with us. That's the format for Tuesdays, is live calls or voice notes. We have 5 minutes left. Still enough time to do at least one more. So if you have something pressing, please feel free to share. What happened, David? How come you put your laptop? Misbehaving. 4 minutes left, guys. Okay, 2 minutes remaining. Didn't hear from Washu today. I hope she's okay. Yeah, she's not online. Gladys, you're zooming.
7:59 p.m.
Okay. Extra time. All right, let's hear Pauline's voice note.
So I reside in the U.S. and I'm a Kenyan who has lived in the U.S. for almost 22 years, and I'm in the process of trying to relocate back to Kenya, but I have absolutely no idea where to start with scanning for land or even with the construction of a home. How would you advise me to proceed when it comes to searching for land? I have an idea of what I'm looking for. I also have an idea of what kind of construction I'm looking for, and I'm wondering if you can give guidance on where to start and if Grand Acres can help me with that entire process.
Hi, Pauline. Thank you for sending your voice note from the US. 22 years, that's a long time. And, you know, we pray that you're able to relocate back home without much issue. I mean, it sounds like you said, you have an idea of what you're looking for, which is the first step. We always advise people, define your goal. You need to be very specific about what you're looking for, what your budget is, how much you want to spend, what the purpose is. Obviously, I presume in your case, you want to build a home because you want to relocate back home. Where exactly would you like that to be? Does it have to be within Nairobi? How far from the CBD? Or does it have to be somewhere else? Which county? All those parameters, if you will determine the rest of your journey. So, you know, I'd advise you and encourage you to be as super detailed as possible about your specific goal. And please, if you haven't yet done so, please check out our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. There's a tab that will say checklist, and you can download for free our 9 steps, free guideline to owning land safely in Kenya. Everything you need to do, and that will sort out your purchasing process 99.9% of the way, and that should prevent you from falling into any traps of or pitfalls or walking over any landmines about your acquisition process. And anything else in terms of construction and that sort of thing, we're happy to share our 2 cents with you. We can do that offline. Feel free to chat us. Our number, just like you sent a voice note to 07-001-0001. We'll be happy to make recommendations on who you might talk to. Obviously, the first step is to acquire the space or the land and then work on your building designs, plans, and construction. That being said, Pauline, we're available to help you in terms of sharing our opinions. We do not look for land for customers. We only sell what we own. So should you like anything that's in our inventory at the moment, which will be listed on our website, feel free to let us know. We'll be happy to facilitate that for you. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to scout for land for you in that regard. But at the very least, you will have some resources to help you acquire the space safely. And anything else along the way, we're happy to help. I'm an ex-diasporan myself. I lived and worked in the States for 11 years. About half the time you spent out there, it felt like an eternity. So I do understand where you're coming from, and we'll be happy to help in any way that we can. Thank you so much to all of you for participating and sending your questions. We'll be grateful to have these conversations with you again on Thursday, where we'll respond to your comments as opposed to having to force you to send voice notes or call live. We really appreciate you making time. Given that we're past 8 p.m., we will say have a blessed night and see you all on Thursday. Cheers.